Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. 104 years ago, the newly formed Polish army stopped the barbaric Red Army on the Vistula River. To commemorate these events, we celebrate Polish Army Day. Today, in Warsaw, thousands of spectators gathered near the Wisła Highway to admire the most modern equipment that the Polish army has or will soon have. On display were state-of-the-art F-35 fighter jets, Apache helicopters, Abrams tanks and HIMARS missile launchers. The Polish army has much to be proud of, thanks to the purchases made in recent years. 2,500 soldiers took part in the parade and 200 units of military equipment were on display. It was the climax of the central celebration of Polish Army Day.
Hundreds of modern military machines, aircraft, helicopters and infantry. The Polish army is presenting its military equipment and warning any potential aggressor. The 15th of August is Polish Army Day, a major holiday. The holiday of the victory of the Polish army, the holiday of the victory of the Polish nation, the holiday of the victory of the Polish spirit. Because the Polish spirit is the spirit of the Polish soldier. The Polish army is undergoing a real technological revolution. The government of the United Right has made many purchases. The parade featured, among others, the Polish Army's newest K2 Black Panther tanks, Leopards 2PL, and Abrams. HIMARS rocket launchers were presented as well, or Polish-designed Badger armored combat vehicles and Crab cannon howitzers. The transformation is accelerating. It did not start today and will not end tomorrow. It is a continuing process that must go on. This is the measure of our responsibility. Community responsibility. In a moment, one of NATO's major armies will proudly march in front of all of us, with a massive budget behind it that all citizens contribute to. Hundreds of thousands of Poles took to the streets of cities to celebrate independence and celebrate the strength of the Polish army. To be honest, there is momentum. The coolest thing is that people can actually take advantage of it, that it's not just shown through a barrier of some kind, but you can actually walk in and touch it. Both youngsters and children can see and touch it in person. Cool equipment. The soldiers are very nice, so I recommend it. The annual parades on the Polish Army Day are thanks to the late President Lech Kaczyński. This tradition has been going on since 2007. You can come here with young children so that they learn and so that they have a good example from us, because we should care and cultivate these beautiful Polish customs of ours. And where did you get the idea to come to the parade? Did your parents persuade you, perhaps? I wanted to come here myself, and I came out here to showcase patriotism. It is worth showing up here today to see the equipment of the Polish army live in all its glory, and also to see the soldiers who will be participating in the parade right here in front of us. Soldiers are prepared to sacrifice even their lives for their homeland. One of the Abrams tanks of the 1st Warsaw Armored Brigade has been named in honor of Sergeant Mateusz Sitek, who was killed on the border with Belarus while defending our border. The parade was attended by 2,500 soldiers, including nearly 100 from Allied forces, including from the U.S., the United Kingdom, and Romania. Poland is an important point on the geopolitical map of the world, and our soldiers are gaining experience in missions abroad. They have been in Afghanistan and Iraq, for example. Now they are in Romania and are already preparing for a mission in Lebanon. Also, as we can see, the security situation in the world is complicated, and wherever there are some critical situations, you can count on our help. In the last century, the first test for the reviving Polish army, after 123 years of partition, was the Battle of Warsaw in 1920. Repelling the enemy was the key to developing potential. Today, the Polish army is strong and steadfast, and is the 3rd largest army in NATO, after the US and Turkey.
Exactly 104 years ago, the Battle of Warsaw took place. It was among the greatest Polish military triumphs in history. The clash determined the fate of the Polish-Bolshevik War and thus Europe. The Poles heroically defended their newly regained independence. As a result of World War I, Poland regained its independence after 123 years of partition. But Moscow's Bolshevik imperialism made its presence known. The Red Army marched westward under communist banners. claiming to bring liberation to the working class. The Polish people were not fooled by Moscow's lies and created a large army from virtually nothing, bringing together representatives of all sectors of society.
Państwo, które przez ponad 100 lat nie istniało.
A country that did not exist for more than 100 years was able to mobilize an army of 1 million men within a year and a half, a phenomenon seldom seen anywhere in the world. The Bolsheviks were confident of victory. From Warsaw, which the Red Army was approaching, all foreign diplomats fled, with the exception of the Apostolic Nuncio. The defence of the capital was in the hands of Józef Pilsudski, who personally led the counter-offensive from above the Wirch River and decided the fate of the battle. The services of a group of Polish cryptologists who first cracked the Bolshevik code and then disrupted it by broadcasting the Holy Bible proved indispensable.
Postać Jana Kowalewskiego.
The figure of Jan Kowalewski, whose genius led to the Poles actually knowing the enemy's numbers, as well as the subsequent plans that we could read from the 13th of August that mentioned the planned strike on Warsaw. There would have been no Polish victory if not for the mistakes of the Bolsheviks. Among other things, it was the selfishness of political commissar Joseph Stalin that led to the Soviet defeat. The future Soviet dictator wanted to take over Lviv personally, thus he disobeyed orders and did not support Mikhail Tukhachevsky near Warsaw. The defeat basically determined Polish-Russian relations. It still reverberates today. The Battle of Warsaw also went down in history as the miracle on the Vistula. At a key moment in the fighting, an image of the Virgin Mary was shown to the Bolshevik troops twice, at Ossov and at Radzimin, causing terror among the invaders. Captured Bolshevik soldiers spoke of an extraordinary female figure, full of power and strength. The Polish troops won these battles, but the war continued. There was another battle on the Niemen River, which Poland also won. The war officially ended on the 18th of March 1921 with the Treaty of Riga. Poland had finally won its independence.
Zakończyło się to wszystko wielkim zwycięstwem.
Everything ended with a great victory. Everything ended with the inscription of this event on the heroism of the Polish soldier in the annals of European and world history, one of the most important battles in the history of the world. The Red Plague broke its teeth on the fields of Warsaw in 1920. This holiday is celebrated all over Poland. Paweł Błoch, TV Republika. 4 attacks in one night in 3 regions. It was a bold action by the Ukrainian military. They fired at strategic Russian targets with drones. This is the biggest success since entering enemy territory. And there is more good news from the front lines.
Airports on fire, Russians in panic. Fear struck Putin's troops when Ukrainians attacked 4 military facilities in enemy territory last night. The targets were ammunition depots and fuel supplies hidden at the airports. Our drones did an excellent job, but unfortunately, we will not achieve everything this way. To continue the offensive in Russia, we need more weapons. The more we have of them, the less Putin will be able to do. This is the biggest action by Ukrainians since they crossed the Russian border. They launched drone strikes on 4 airfields in 3 regions: Kursk, Nizhny Novgorod, and Vorontsov regions, where they attacked for the first time. The targets were several hundred kilometers apart.
The first time that Russia has had foreign troops invading and holding territory since World War II. Here's what we know. On August 6th, Ukrainian forces, tanks and armored vehicles rolled across the border into the Kursk region in several different directions.
The attacks by the Ukrainians have caused panic among the Russians. They are pulling reinforcements by withdrawing their troops from the Donetsk and Luhansk regions and elsewhere in southern Ukraine. However, the Ukrainians are doing so well that they have even opened a military command in the Kursk region. We are continuing our operation in enemy territory. Just today, we moved forward by around 2 kilometers. We are eliminating the enemy on the territory of the city of Sudzha. And this is not the end of the good news. In the Kursk region, an entire company of Russians surrendered without a fight. More than 100 soldiers raised the white flag and surrendered to the Ukrainians.
The Catholic Church, in the most difficult times for Poles, was always the one thing to support Polish national identity. That is why those who wanted to destroy Polish statehood recognized its influence on Poles, and they tried to limit or eliminate it. Unfortunately, today, the fight against the Church is back, removing crosses from offices in the capital, limiting religious education, and introducing gender ideology in schools. This is an attempt to break with Christian roots and shape the minds, especially those of our children, according to the latest leftist trend. For whom and for what purpose? And why is it so important not to uproot the roots of our civilization? The partitioners of our homeland have always fought against the roots of Polishness, with its identity, with the church.
Ten krzyż tu jest.
This cross is here, but we all know very well that it has not always been here, because when the Soviets came here again in 1944, they did not hesitate to cut down this cross and burn it, out of deep hatred for us Poles.
Ściąć tego krzyża i spalić go.
The cross was rebuilt by you in the spring of 1980, when you had the opportunity, and it is still here. Now once more there is a fight against the cross and Christian values.
Musimy was opiłować z pewnych.
We have to take away some of your privileges, otherwise you will raise your head again. Such calls have not gone unanswered. Now these politicians are in power and are implementing anti-religious policies. They are trying to limit catechesis in schools. In Warsaw, under Rafał Trzaskowski, crosses are being removed from offices. Of course, this is a fundamental struggle that goes back to very basic principles, but it is a struggle that is inscribed in the very consistent way precisely in the logic of communism, because it is worth remembering that it was communism that took up the struggle against God. Communism, supported by atheistic materialism, took up the struggle against God, but thus against objective truth and human nature. Hence the promotion of gender ideology. Basic concepts such as sex are to be changed. In the name of freedom and equality, utopian principles are introduced that have little to do with truth or biology.
It is not as easy as some may in this cultural war may now want to portray it, that the XX or the XY is the clear distinction between the men and women.
Even in sports, ideology trumps truth. Athletes who have failed sex tests are competing in the women's category at the Olympics. Lenin had a clear model of totalitarianism. To capture people, he knew what are the greatest needs, desires and interests of society, and this involves getting rid of all the values of democracy to more easily control people. And Europe is going in this direction. Get rid of the sexes, of faith. Those who would want this kind of regime are constantly sticking their fingers everywhere. In order to make society easy to control, people's thinking must be formed from an early age. Drag queens in Polish schools, is that possible? Drag queens in Polish schools, in my opinion, yes. So you support this idea? Yes. Nothing has changed since 1920, except that Poles won another battle against Bolshevism, but the war is not over. Leninist Bolshevism wanted to create a new society. He wanted to break family ties. He was by definition anti-clerical. He wanted to destroy the church. But Poles are a conservative nation. Poles have so far bet on Christian values, and in our society there is a massive battle going on at the moment, whether we will defend these values. Because without these values, which have shaped our country, our world, and our entire civilization, we will not survive. Adrian Boretsky, TV Republica. That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.